as we welcome in our 1320 Kings insider, the creator of the Kings Beat, our guy, James Ham, who not only covers a playoff team now, but covers a Pacific Division champion
Ooh.
playoff team.
Stunning. Like, I don't even know what to do with myself. Yeah, this has
Your
been
excitement is overwhelming. It's oozing through the screen.
this has been a fun season, man. I don't know. I saw the picture last night that Gary Gerald tweeted out of himself wearing the Pacific Division T-shirt, and man, just what a ride for someone like him who's been here for so long and then got stuck in this just twisted web of losing and like instability and chaos for so long, and then to come out the other side. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun to cover this season, and they just keep winning, and that's good. I'm excited.
How impressed were you with that game last night? Especially coming off the heels of Sunday and that catastrophe of a loss against San Antonio. The way they responded last night in New Orleans again. Mike Brown said might have been the best win of the season. I think he might be right. Most complete win or something, whatever the
most complete
was.
game.
I thought they played really well. They played tough. That was almost a playoff preview type performance from the Sacramento Kings last night.
Actually, you know what? When I was watching and we got done and Mike said that, I was sitting there and I thought to myself, if that's the team that shows up in the playoffs, then all bets are off. If they can be that team, then whoever they face in the first round, it doesn't matter. They've been a better team than almost every single Western Conference team all season long. I mean, outside of Denver, who's been up there the whole time, and the Grizzlies, who have been really strong, and even through a lot of their chaos, like there hasn't been a more consistent team than the Kings. And you just keep thinking that they don't have the experience, and they don't know what they're doing. They don't know what they don't know. And that game right there showed me, okay, they do have a different level that they can get to on the defensive end, on the offensive end. Every bit of that game, that right there was a team that had won 8 out of 9 and was rolling and had an opportunity to jump up and be a first round opponent of the Kings, and they just like thumped them. And so for me, that was a big moment, because this last like week and a half, 2 weeks, it's been some pretty shoddy basketball. Like there's been plenty of times where you thought that they just weren't fully engaged, that they didn't quite understand that the season wasn't over yet. And that game right there like changed my mind about who they can be going forward.
What do you think? You're listening to D-Lo and KC on KIFM West Sacramento 98.5 FM, KRX QHD2 Sacramento, ESPN 1320, always live on the free Odyssey app. What do you think sparked that? Do you think it was Mike Brown's press conference? Do you think it was the fact that they just knew they played like hell against San Antonio and they needed to do better as the postseason approached?
Yeah, I mean that, and I think that they started to hear the murmurs. They understand that they have not played well, and that Mike Brown, like, to his credit, I like what he's doing right now. Like, we always talk about, again, the experience, right? And it's usually year 2 or year 3 of a team making the playoffs where they stop worrying about the regular season so much, and they start really focusing on, making sure everyone's healthy, making sure the last 20 games you're in a rhythm and you know what you're doing. Well, that's not who this team is. And so I think that this was kind of a reminder that, like, look, you guys haven't done anything. Like, if you're going to walk into a playoff series, it doesn't matter who you're facing. If you play like you did against San Antonio or Utah, or name that sort of step back they've taken over the last couple of weeks, you're going to lose. It doesn't matter. Like, if you guys don't play defense, any team can beat you. They got beat by Julian Chapani, or whatever his name is. I mean,
we haven't decided.
Yeah, we haven't decided yet, right? They got beat by that guy, and like, what are you doing? And so I think that that's one of those moments. Even didn't Jones have a triple double against them in the San Antonio game? Like, that should be embarrassing for a team that has, like, not just playoff aspirations but more. And so I think the Kings, sort of unwittingly have given Mike Brown all of the material he needs to yell and scream and push them even further. And that's a good thing. Again, the Knicks thing, you beat the Knicks, good. You gave up 23 offensive rebounds. We're not going to win basketball games playing that way. And so they keep giving Mike Brown sort of more bulletin board material that he can use against his own team. And I think it's good. Like, motivational tactics at this point of the season, they're not easy because it is such a long season. And so I like to see what Brown has done here and how he keeps capturing the imagination of this team, reining them back in, refocusing them. And it's something that, we don't know how many games more he gets to do that this season, but I'm not going to put a number on it right now.
The interesting thing that has gone on, and Damian, you brought it up earlier, was Mike Brown said what he said after Sunday's game. And he talked about, his disappointment and his frustration with everything that was going on. But you can make the argument that didn't even need to happen because De'Aaron Fox was already up there saying unacceptable. Kevin Huerter looked irritated what was going on. There is a level of, and I know Coach Brown asked for it more and consistently, but I think, especially compared to years past, there's a level of self-accountability with these guys that maybe we're just not used to seeing. Like, you could make the argument they didn't have to be told about how embarrassing Sunday was, and they need to come out ready to go. They were going to be ready to go regardless because there is that self-accountability with this group in the locker room.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm going to point to this too. I think over the last, Fox is one of the guys who hasn't played that well. Like, he just hasn't. And I tweeted out last night, he had missed 14 consecutive 3-point shots. And so it dated all the way back to the third quarter of not the San Antonio game, but the game before that. And so he went 0 for 8 against San Antonio, and then he was 0 for 4 to start the game. Like, there has to be a moment where even he has a reckoning, and someone needs to say, hey, look, man, whatever happened to the paint touches, whatever happened to the spray three, whatever you're doing right now, it's not good for us as a team, and you need to stop doing it. And I don't know who said that, or if someone did say that, or if he just came to the self-realization, but let's not let Fox has a good post game and let him off the hook for the fact that part of the problem is that he hasn't been as good over the last, 2-3 weeks. We talked about it last week where I mentioned to you guys that for some reason Fox is letting Monk take over in the fourth quarter and not himself. What's made this team great is that Fox is great in the fourth quarter. That's taken this team from being really good to winning a whole bunch of basketball games by 2 and 3 and 4 points because he's been incredible. So, for this thing to work, these guys have to own up to who they are. Each individual player needs to own up to who they are and what they mean in the greater grand scheme of the team concept that is this season's Sacramento Kings. And part of that is Fox. He's got to be good every night. And there can't be other nights where, again, it's not just that he goes 0 of 8 from 3, which why he kept shooting threes, I can't tell you. I get why Kevin Huerter went 2 of 12 and kept shooting threes because that guy shoots 41% on the season. But with Fox, it's something different. When he touches the paint, it changes everything for the Kings. And he knows that. And then on top of that, the guy he goes against drops a 20-point, 10 rebound, 10 assist, triple-double. Look, you got to play it out. No one is handing the Kings anything. And that's why it took them an extra 5 days to win the Pacific.
Hammer, what I think it really was is the genius of Mike Brown hiding Alex Lynn for 70-plus games this season
checkers
before unleashing him on the NBA world and giving him an opportunity to get his NBA legs while also instilling fear in other teams in both conferences now. When do you think Mike decided, hey, I'm just going to tuck Alex Lynn away in my back pocket and unleash hell on the world towards the end of the season? Think it was the moment he was hired or maybe a little after?
Look, I know, some people get so frustrated when I talk about the first year of Monty McNair, right? We get to that offseason, and he decides not to match Bogdanovich, but also not to bring Alex Len and not to bring Bazemore back, right? So, and everyone's like, man, if you think Alex Len would have made some sort of difference. And the fact was that Alex Len was so good after they got him from Atlanta in that last little spurt that he was a difference maker for the team. Remember, they went into LA and they beat the Clippers, and like Len and Montrezl Harrell got into it, and he just wouldn't back down. Like, there are these moments where Alex Len has shown you things throughout his career where you're like, okay, I'm okay with what he does. Even I tweeted out a video of practice the other day, and someone responded, why is Alex Len shooting so many threes? Why isn't he working on his footwork? Like, because you guys, that fan didn't realize that Alex Len shot 37% from three a couple of years ago when he was with Atlanta. The dude can shoot. He can provide you with shot blocking and rebounding, and not just shot blocking, but rim protection. I think that's the thing that we've seen. He's doing a great job of blocking shots. Even the weird CJ McCollum thing where he tried to flip the ball up and under, and Alex Len swatted him yesterday. But think back to,
just grabs his jersey.
yeah, well, he was clearly upset. Yeah, but look at how many shots that since Alex has been back in the rotation that he's altered shots, and that's huge. This team has not had that at all. And Chimezie Metu can jump out of the gym, but he's not 7'1" with like a huge wingspan like Alex. And I think you asked the question was very specific, was when did Mike decide? And it was the moment that Chimezie Metu decided to not follow the basic rules of what Chimezie Metu is supposed to do. And once he opened that door, Alex has stepped in and just been really good. And so good for Alex for being ready. He's also a player who, like, literally throughout his career cannot stay healthy at all. And you get this deep in the season, he's got no mileage on him at all. And sure enough, he's playing like a player who's fresh and ready and has a role and understands it. He sets big screens. And again, we haven't even seen him pull up and shoot a three yet. He can do that. Like, there's all kinds of things that Alex Len can do. And I think, again, bringing in Hassan Whiteside over Alex Len, it doesn't matter what the stats said. That was a horrible decision. And that's one of those things where you look at it and you don't understand that a player who fits a role is better than a guy who puts up stats. And Alex Len is just that guy. He can fit a role.
Especially when that guy who puts up stats doesn't really put up stats. He just every once in a while throws the ball off of somebody's face. Or Hassan Whiteside was an adventure.
He was, but the season before he averaged like 14 and like 15 points, 12 rebounds, and like 2.5 blocks. Like,
here?
So no.
Well, everybody knew he wasn't going to do that here.
Oh yeah, no. Here he ran in the middle of the key, put his gigantic wingspan out, which is, I think he has one of the biggest wingspans ever, 7'8" wingspan. He goes stand in the middle of the key and put his arms out like, give me the ball. And De'Aaron Fox is like, man, where am I supposed to run? Like, you're supposed to be setting the screen, big man. So yeah,
it was at that moment De'Aaron knew he was going to have a sore ankle. He was like,
ow, my ankle. Ow.
That wasn't even that season. I think it was the next season.
But he knew. He knew.
Premonition, like,
it's I'm gonna have to have a sore ankle to get some changes done around here.
That's right.
Do you think this Alex Len thing is something that they found and they're going to continue to rely upon as the backup five moving forward, or is it just is it going to be matchup based when you get into the playoffs?
Yeah, I think it's going to be matchup based. And I'll point this out too. Like, Trey Lyles was having a phenomenal season, and then he missed 2 games with a sore shoulder. And I don't think Trey Lyles has been right for a couple of weeks, like 100%. And so I would say that, like, Alex Len is going to play when you have a problem with guys getting downhill on you and scoring at the rim time and time again. We might see, or you're getting out rebounded by a ton. But I think in the playoffs, if you see an 8-man rotation with a possibility for like partial 9-man, that's going to be Lyles and Davion and Malik Monk off the bench. And then Kessler Edwards is the guy who gives you something different. And so I think it's going to be difficult to find space for all of these guys on the court in the playoffs. But we'll have to see. I mean, I asked Mike Brown that specific question, like, look, are you doing this because you might have a very interesting matchup like in the playoffs and you might need Alex? And he was like, no, not really. Like, Alex just deserved a shot. He's put in the work. He's out here, before everyone else, and really, like, he stayed a good teammate through the whole season, and we hadn't given him a shot, so now we're giving him a shot. And so I thought it was interesting to kind of see that perspective. But again, I think it's going to come down to maybe a little matchup, maybe a little bit of whether Trey Lyles kind of comes around out of his slump right now.
What did you think of Kessler yesterday? We talked a lot about Alex Lynn. I don't think we really talked about Kessler Edwards. What did you think of his performance yesterday?
Yeah, I mean, like, I thought he was really good. They figured out a way to slow down Brandon Ingram, and you're going to need that. Like, it doesn't. Whoever you're playing in the first round, whether it's the Warriors, who you'll need someone to defend Wiggins, or a tall guy to go out on Steph, chase Steph around, or Clay, or if you're talking about Paul George and Kawhi Leonard with the Clippers, or just name that team that could jump up and be in position with you. Anthony Edwards, if it's Minnesota, like, he has a skill that this team needs desperately. And it's something that they need to address fully this offseason, whether that's Kessler just getting a whole bunch of minutes and developing into something that, he's trying to develop into right now, or it's, going out and finding like a better version to add to the team. That's still something you need. And I think he's been really, really strong over the last couple of weeks, just coming in and giving you everything you need on the defensive end and not being just a huge problem on the offensive end. He's active, he's shooting, he doesn't mind attacking the rim. He's been really good as a rebounder quietly.
Yeah.
And so those are things that, like, you're looking at him, and like, they've optimized him for sure, like, as of right now. And I think he'll get plenty of burn in the playoffs.
Did the Kings seem to miss Malik Monk that much from their game? Because, I mean, his presence, I should say, seemed to change the energy in that game yesterday, and it was something they kind of missing, it seemed like, on Sunday, that certain level of energy. Is he that valuable to what they try to do as a group?
I think he's valuable, but I would just continue to make the point that, like, it's good that he has, like, that type of value, but the games that he's bad, he can't be that bad. And games that he's good, like, that's amazing and it's fun and it helps you win. There has to be sort of a midline for Malik Monk, and I don't know if we're ever going to find it, because that's not really who he is. He's either really high or really low. And he reminds me a lot of Bobby Jackson. Like, if you were watching the Kings during their heyday, how many times did you, like, oh, no, 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 and then, yes, it went in? Like, how many times with Bobby Jackson? And it was a lot. Like, Bobby hit a huge amount of, like, crazy shots, but how many of those shots should he have taken was always the question. And that's where Malik and him are very similar. And, Malik's a great playmaker, except for the games where he's turning the ball over. So, yeah, I mean, I don't want to say it's live by the Malik or die by the Malik. But, yeah, this team doesn't really need that. So they don't need that player who is so impactful one way or the other.
Yeah, I don't want to give that moniker.
No, that's
I know who had
that's a
that.
one of one.
Yeah, I know who had that moniker before, and that is not Malik Monk.
Yeah,
I do not want to give that to Malik Monk at all. One that we mentioned it in passing, and probably deserves some more attention. We were talking about players who you hope have, high level games in the playoffs. And James, it's bordering impossible to not get excited when Davion Mitchell has defensive plays like he had last night, where he just punked someone in the backcourt and caused an 8-second violation.
That was spectacular.
Don't see that very often.
No. And, it's against a rookie that I like a lot. But it's one of those situations where he has an ability to impact the game so much on the defensive end. And even if it's in a short burst, we're seeing him only play like 12 to 15 minutes a game on a lot of nights. And I think a lot of the time it does depend on whether he's hitting he's hitting his shots. And, one player can't completely change your entire defensive scheme. But I think him and Kessler Edwards together have been like a really, really nice tandem. And then if you add in Alex Len, that adds another element. And then you add in Malik Monk and his ability to score. And so I think if you're looking at that second unit, you're starting to see some really nice pieces that are finding ways to work together. And that may be right there why Malik Monk seems like he means so much. Because if you put him out there with an Alex Len or Chimezi Metu, but also a Davion Mitchell and a Kessler Edwards, like, where are you going to get your scoring? Like, if Malik Monk isn't scoring, like, no one is going to score on that second unit naturally. And so, I like what's happening though. I like sort of the organic growth of that second unit and how each of them are kind of filling a specific role. And Davion's a guy who, again, he hasn't been he hasn't put up the numbers that he put up last year, but in the minutes that he's played, he's been really solid. He's disappeared from that, what we worried about early in the season, where he was someone that, like, you noticed the problems on the court. You don't really notice that he's standing out anymore as someone who's doing something that everyone else isn't doing. And that's a good thing. He's figured out how to fit into the flow of the offense, which was a problem early on. He still has some issues here and there on the defensive end, where if he's not on ball, he does lose his man and stuff. But overall, I think his growth in year 2 has been pretty solid.
Davion gonna have some moments in the playoffs. He's gonna have some moments just like what we saw yesterday in the playoffs. And I pray that they happen at the Golden One Center, because they're gonna explode if he even comes close to getting the 8-second call, let alone if it actually happens. If it actually happens, yeah, we lose our mind. Absolutely.
That's one of those things where the crowd will build.
Yeah.
Like, this is 6, 7, the crowd will get louder and louder and louder as we get close to the 8 seconds.
Yeah, I think too, I mean, Davion is going to be very specific, like, to what team you're playing. So, like, if you're playing the Warriors, he's not a good matchup with Steph Curry, and because Steph is so good off ball. And he's, clearly he's not a good matchup against Klay Thompson because of Klay's size. But I do think he's a really good matchup against Jordan Poole. And so you have these different elements of different teams where you're like, okay, I could see how Davion could really be impactful. Again, you play Minnesota. I think he's a really good matchup against Mike Conley. And just go down the list. Even if you look at the Clippers, he's a good matchup against Russell Westbrook. Like, he forces Russell Westbrook into a whole bunch of rush shots. And, that's a good thing.
Domantas Sabonis had his 13th triple-double of the season last night, and we've really just kind of glossed over it. He got like a segment 3 mention. Like, we've just come to we've dubbed Hammer, we've dubbed Domas the new Harrison Barnes, where Harrison at times is just really, really consistently good. And he's gotten so, like, Domas has gotten so good where we just don't notice it. Yeah, he had a triple-double. Man, you see what Alex Len did last night? Davion Mitchell, that 8-second violation. Meanwhile, Domantas Sabonis. And I
don't let Domas get a double-double. You may never mention him.
Oh, man.
He has 64 double-doubles. 64.
That's
like,
crazy.
I think he's missed 2 games. So with 3 games left, 79, 77. So he gets 64 double-doubles in 77 games. Like, that's crazy. Like, how good he is. Like, again, I've brought up that I compare him not for what he does on the court, but the way that, like, he does things that you appreciate every night to DeMarcus, right? And I don't think the Kings have never had a lunch pail guy like this outside of Mitch Richmond, where every single game Mitch scored 20. And so for Domas, every single game it's a double-double without fail. And it's just really, really incredible to watch, because you do take it for granted. Like, I don't even look. I just assume every single game he'll have double-digit rebounds. and he's averaging like 12.4 or 12.6 on the season. He leads the NBA. But it's not just that he's averaging that. It's that's what he gets every single game. And so I think just what he's able to do is really impressive. Like his ability to pass, his ability to change everything, but also make this point early in the season, even all the way up to the trade deadline. I was like very concerned that the second he steps off the court, you can't function offensively. And I think the team has found a way to like play through when he's not there. And so that's a good thing. They're learning and they're getting better, and this offense is incredible. But that was always my issue, that they were going to have problems when he steps off the court. And the fact that he leads the league in personal fouls means that he's going to step off the court quite a bit. And he just needs to make sure that he's doing everything in his power not to get in foul trouble, especially in the playoffs, once playoffs start against, again, whoever that is. But if it's Draymond Green poking him in the ribs and trying to get him to respond and he gets stupid fouls, then that's a bummer. You need him on the court.
19.2, 12.4, and 7.2.
Amazing.
Ooh.
Yeah.
We'll come back. James Ham here with us. We've got Kings basketball tonight.
Yeah, man.
We've got to talk about that. It's the Sacramento Kings and the Dallas Mavericks. Of course, we're going to watch it together at the Fieldhouse American Sports Pub. We hope you'll come out to hang out and watch with us. We're going to talk to James about that game when we return here on Sacramento Sports Leader ESPN 1320. Clear.
Oh.
Hang on, I'm going to highlight Patrick. Like the update on whether Sasha will join the team next year is that Monty McNair went over there he went over there during the tournament. So when Princeton was at Golden One Center, he left and missed the Sunday game and flew to Greece. And he took someone with him. I can't remember who. Oh, Phil Jabor. So they went over and hung out with Sasha. The Kings are going to make a really hard play for Sasha in the offseason. So, and he's also like, it's kind of an interesting thing I'll tell you about like free agents. Like when you go into free agency and you're trying to monitor like how much you're going to spend on your players and all that stuff, he's a player that is basically like he's a free agent of sorts, but you're the only team that can negotiate with him. So even if you get a deal done with him, it's a good thing that you can wait and wait and wait to announce that and do all of your other things that you're working on and then bring him on board afterwards. So whether it's like the biannual exception or whatever, what I'm saying is you'll be able to use your cap space first. And so I don't know what he's going to get. I'm not sure that the Kings should do something crazy like, the $9 million a year contract they give Bogdan Bogdanovic. But I wouldn't doubt that he gets pretty solid cash for like the biannual. I think is a little over 4, something like that. And that's what he wanted this last year, and the Kings wouldn't give it to him. And that's why he stayed over there, or part of the reason.
This is pretty interesting. I seen from on Twitter. This is probably a testament to the Kings winning this division and what it means. The Pacific Division currently represents seeds 3 through 7.
Yeah.
Look at it. It's Sac, Suns, Warriors, Clippers, Lakers.
And did I hear that
this whole division is right there?
Something like 7 of the last 8 Pacific Division winners have represented the West in the finals.
That makes sense. It's just the Warriors and the Suns, right? Oh, the Lakers. Yeah, the
Warriors, Suns, Lakers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Clippers haven't been there.
Nope.
Yeah, that checks out. Warriors, Suns, and Lakers.
Yeah. I've been writing all day on Harrison Barnes. Finally getting to my Harrison Barnes piece.
I'll save it for the show. I want to ask you something about him.
HB. So HB's not shaving, huh?
He hasn't said that. The one year he did.
He doesn't have to say it. I can see it. It's like, whoa.
He trimmed it one year. I mean, like he trimmed it like a week or two ago, but but he isn't shaving. Yeah, the 1 year where he let it grow.
Yeah.
And then we got to
Yeah. That
and
was
then
a
the
tough
pandemic
scene.
hit.
Yeah. That's a tough scene.
And he couldn't shave it. Got to the bubble. Ugh.
That was tough.
Yeah.
That was tough.
And leading up to the bubble, like he was one of the many players like the Kings had. What was it? Jabari Parker, Buddy Hield, Alex Len, and Harrison Barnes all got COVID right before the bubble.
Mhm.
And then Harrison's wife and mom got it. And I think one of them was not good. It was like, and it was early stages, like back in the beginning of COVID, where it was like very stressful.
Live on the Odyssey app, live on twitch.tv/ESPN1320 and youtube.com/ESPN1320 as we're gearing up to head out to the Fieldhouse American Sports Bar. We hope you'll come watch the game with us tonight. We're going to have a blast, hoping to put the dirt, or at least some dirt, not all of the dirt. Can't put all of it because Oklahoma City couldn't beat the Golden State Warriors. They tried. They did what they could. But Jesse just sent me this tweet. We've talked, Hammer, probably a stupid amount of time about the Dallas Mavericks tonight, even though that is the Sacramento Kings opponent. I should say today we've talked about them. Jesse just forwarded me this tweet from Tim McMahon. I guess Mark Cuban is talking somewhere. I don't know. But Tim McMahon tweets, Mark Cuban is blaming Rick Brunson for the Mavs losing Jalen Brunson in free agency, saying, quote, things went south when the parents got involved. Maybe the reason the Mavericks suck is because Mark Cuban just can't take responsibility for his team failing to get something done.
Mark Cuban seems like he is an unbelievable businessman. Has made a lot of money, but that doesn't mean he knows exactly how to run an NBA franchise.
Yeah, I mean, he does have a ring, and that's what he's always going to rely on. But like, look, I told you guys this. I really think that the dynamic there with Luka is like it's gone sideways. And you can go back to last offseason. I think Jalen Brunson really, really liked playing in the games where Luka didn't play, and when Luka was there, it wasn't nearly as fun. And that's something that like has become a bigger and bigger issue like throughout his career. That finding people that want to play that style of basketball and play alongside him is not easy, and it's not easy to find fit players, to go with him. And Brunson last year, like he tore the Kings up a couple of times, and Davion Mitchell has been very clear. Like Jalen Brunson's the most difficult guy to defend for him in the league. He thinks he's so strong, low center of gravity, like he's able to get wherever he wants on the court. Like that's a really, really good player that they lost for nothing, and that's tough. So yeah, I don't know why you're bringing up now. Like,
Yeah.
if you don't make the playoffs,
he sees this is all going bad, and he needs someone to believe. And I think Luka was. Someone asked Luka, "How much do you think the Mavericks are missing Jalen Brunson?" And he just replied, "A lot."
Yeah. Well, no, I agree with him. So yeah, I mean that's a player that again he could score at will, and he did it off the bench, and again he carried the load when Luka wasn't there, and without what are you going to do? You lost him. You got to move on.
Complain about it. That you don't move on. You just complain about it, and that appears to be their approach.
Or you use it as an excuse as to why you're not going to make the playoffs, and it's like, okay, I mean Jalen Brunson's a good player, but like I mean you should have been able to do something. You went out and got Christian Wood, which tells me that you didn't really do a whole lot of homework.
And the other thing about it, I think I saw this stat. Hey, they did what they had to do. Maybe they didn't think they had enough, but I think they were like fifth in the Western Conference when they traded. They made the Kyrie trade.
I actually think it was fourth, but yeah, it's fourth or fifth, whatever it was.
And
yep.
Once again, for me personally, it's not a Kyrie thing. It's what you gave up
to
get Kyrie.
100%.
Like Spencer Dinwiddie, Finney Smith were like big pieces of what you were trying to do, and you moved on that for another score.
Yeah, I don't like the Kyrie fit there at all. And, And again, I've told you guys, I just think that he's blowing that team up, and it's not because he's doing something silly behind the scenes. It's just because everyone likes playing with him, and they're realizing that it's not fun to play with Luka.
So the best way for them to get better, Ham, I want you to co-sign the D'Lo and KC plan. Re-sign Kyrie and trade Luka Doncic.
Hey, again, I've told you, I think there are probably 4 or 5 teams out there this offseason that are looking at star-level players that are on their team that have been the face of their franchise for a couple of years who really should look at a hard reset. And, the same thing with Trae Young, the same thing with Karl Anthony Towns. Look what's happened in Minnesota since Cat got back.
Well, yeah, Carl, that's the thing. That's different. Karl Anthony Towns isn't the star of that team anymore.
Right.
Well, I mean, he doesn't want to relinquish it.
Yeah, well, he doesn't have a choice. He's Dyson Daniels and Anthony Edwards is Davion Mitchell. He's just took it from him. Like, hey, kid, you don't have a choice. This is my team now.
As Tupac said in Above the Rim, you don't have a choice.
That is James knows that reference.
I have seen Above the Rim. It's been a long time now.
All right. Kenny watches it every week.
Every week. That and Poetic Justice.
Oh, you know it. Those are my movies right there.
There you go. See?
A little lucky.
But, I mean,
maybe that's a way the Maverick. Go get Karl Anthony Towns.
But with what money?
Yeah.
I said you'd have to trade for Cat.
Yeah,
what you got?
You don't. Luka.
Well, that and your first-round picks are all messed up. And if you're Minnesota, would you consider trading for Luka when you know that Anthony Edwards is the answer?
Yeah, probably not.
No.
Probably not.
And that's the other thing. Everyone knows how supremely talented Luka is. I don't know where he fits and who he fits with. I have no clue.
I think there are a lot of teams that say they want him, and then they're gonna be like, do we really
get down to it?
When it really gets down to it.
Luka has some soul searching to do. He's got to figure out. And again, the man's 24 years old. I believe he can. But can Dallas wait around long enough to figure it out? Can he wait around Dallas long enough for them to figure it out? Because it feels like both of those entities are in a bad spot. Not the Mavericks beat. It's the Kings beat that James Ham created. And, of course, the Sacramento Kings will take on the Dallas Mavericks tonight. Ham, I hate to say this, but with the way that Dallas is playing, does this game have San Antonio feels to it? Is it because they are not playing the way New Orleans was headed into that? This is a game that is a team, that is physically and mentally destroyed. That it feels like if the Sacramento Kings can get 12 or 14 on them out the gate, they'll fold and this thing will end before halftime.
Yeah, that's possible. I think the most interesting thing to watch will be how does Mike Brown deal with the chase for 50, which I don't know if is still a thing, but you got 3 games and you got to win 2. But then on top of that, he's not backing down. He's trying to get better with his team right now. And he's not letting off the gas, and he's playing his players big minutes, even though, again, tonight's game has no real value to the Kings at all. The only thing it could possibly do is you could look at it this way. They could, not win and allow Dallas to have a better shot at making the back end of the play-in, and maybe Dallas does something stupid like beats the Lakers or beats Minnesota or beats someone that you really don't want to face because you know you can beat Dallas. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how you walk into this one and
that's such a long shot, though.
Yeah.
The Mavericks getting in is like a 3-0, 0-3 type thing.
Is it that bad? I didn't think it was that bad.
I think so.
Yeah, they have to win out. I think
because OKC has
and I think the Timberwolves are involved in that too.
No, they're a half game out of 10th. The Mavs are. They're a half game behind OKC. So they're 38-42 versus 37-42
yesterday, but they need to finish in front because they got no tiebreakers.
They don't have any tiebreakers.
No tiebreakers, so they got to finish in front of all these people.
Okay, so OKC still has 4 games remaining. Oh no, they only have 2.
I'm about to say, yeah,
I was like, wait, man,
they gave them a Kings schedule.
No, but Dallas has 3. So
tonight. Friday and Sunday, I think.
Yeah, so if Dallas wins tonight, if Dallas wins out, then and OKC doesn't win another game, Dallas would be in for sure. But well, yeah, but we're only talking about 2 and 3 games. Even if I think OKC can win, they can win one game,
Yeah,
and Dallas wins. If Dallas wins all 3, OKC can still win one and get in, and Dallas would be in. Yeah. So I don't know. I think they're still in there.
they are mathematically, but I mean, you can do go a long way to knocking them out tonight if you're the Kings.
Yeah. Oh no. If you beat them tonight, they're done. Yeah, I don't think they really have. I mean, they would have to go 2-0 and then hope that that OKC loses both their games, and even that, I don't think gets them in. Yeah,
Which that's it's an interesting thing you brought up just a minute ago. The Pelicans were definitely playing for something. The fact that the Mavericks like are unsure about what their approach is, like it's not impossible. It's not impossible those two are ruled out tonight, which clarifies the direction that they're going. But the fact that they seemed as recently as yesterday to be unsure about the direction that they're going, that already tells me the story. Y'all are done. You're checked out. So for the Kings, that's got to be, for Mike Brown, that's got to be a tough dynamic when you're going against a team like the Pelicans, who, Kenny, you called that like a playoff type game. Yeah, it can be. That meant a lot to the Pelicans. They couldn't get it. This game might not mean anything for Dallas.
Yeah.
No,
Dallas,
I totally agree.
I think you prefer you beat the crap out of them.
Yeah, put us out of our misery.
That may be yeah.
Make the decision.
Be the
for
Dr.
us.
Kevorkian here and put an end to this.
Oof. Yikes. Yeah.
Put an end to Dallas.
Dr. K. Yeah, like I think either way, the Kings could still beat them handily. I think they have a 2-1 advantage over Dallas on the season. And they've outplayed them. And, you know, I like someone brings up Jason Kidd in the chat, like that's a mess.
Yeah.
Like his comments all season long have been a mess. The fact that Luka Doncic helped chase Rick Carlisle out of town is a mess, who's one of the best X's and O's coaches in the league. Like the whole thing is a mess. So it could be added to the list of teams that are sliding while the Kings are ascending, and that's good. That's a good thing for the Kings.
Jason Kidd ran a out of bounds play that consisted of nobody taking the ball out.
Did he spill water on the court?
No, not this time.
The play against the Warriors, it's our ball. There was nobody there to take the ball out.
Yeah.
Turn one of the league's great point guards into a dummy.
You know who's not a dummy, though? De'Aaron Fox. I saw this stat from the Sacramento Kings. In his last 3 games against the Mavericks, he's averaging 37.7 on 57% from the field. 5.3 assists. They got no answer for De'Aaron Fox.
Well, they're not the best defensive team out there, so that checks out.
No answer. Oh, I did want to ask Ham this, though, because we talked about it a little bit during the break. Harrison Barnes. And you've been writing about Harrison, got some things coming up. How do you think he's played of late? It's been really up and down for me. Like, I didn't like his game at all on Sunday. I'm not going to say he's the reason why they lost, but I didn't think he helped. Yesterday, I thought he played really well. It was a bounce back game, but that seems to be like what's been going on a lot with Harrison last month or so. Like, good game, 2 subpar games, then 3 good games, then 2 sub. You know, what do you think about Harrison's play as of late?
Yeah, I mean, I think scoring-wise, he's been extremely consistent over the last 20-plus games. You know, he's had 1 game where he was in single digits. My concern, even like last night's game, like he finished with 16 points, which is fine. And, you know, that's kind of what you need him to do. But you look at the rebounds, he had 0 rebounds, and he had 1 assist. And I can tell you that 1 assist came in like the final like minute he was on the court. And so those are issues that like if he's not going to have any numbers at all to point to, that I would kind of circle and say, hey man, like we need more. He did have 3 steals. His steal numbers have gone up the last 3 games. But overall, like, is it possible that Harrison Barnes playing, 32 to 33 minutes a night for 79 consecutive games is a little bit beat up and worn out, sure, but the Kings are going to get like nearly a week off before the playoffs. So Harrison Barnes should come out and he'll be just perfectly fine. He's the unsung hero of this Kings team. You've got Monk, who gets a lot of fanfare for being like the Energizer Bunny. You got Fox and Sabonis, who have got all kinds of fanfare. You got Keegan Murray, who everyone talks about, like the 3-point record and where he's at in the rookie chase and all that. And the fact that you have a guy who goes out there and plays 32, 33 minutes every single night, holds down his position, gives you great shooting, knows when to go get to the free throw line when you're struggling with your shot, all those things. And then what he is to this team off the court is like spectacular. I mean, I asked Sabonis about him, and he said he's the most professional player I've ever been around in my entire career. Like, he's the guy. So, like, all of these guys, they have such a high opinion of him and what he's been through here in Sacramento, just like Fox has been through. But I think it's a little different because Fox didn't know any better. He came into a dysfunctional situation. He came into a losing franchise and the fight to turn things around. But that's not where Harrison Barnes had kind of been in his career. By his third season, he'd won a championship. His fourth season, he goes to the finals and loses in the finals and then finds himself in Dallas. Like, just the way that his career took some weird paths to get where it is right now. I'm super happy for him to kind of, if he does choose to leave this summer, he'll get to do it with the understanding that he was able to fulfill the promise of getting the team back to the playoffs. And so if he does decide that he wants to move, then that's one thing. But he also, like, when I talked to him, he talked a lot about stability and how, he just quickly rattled off. He said, I get traded here and it's Dave and Vlade, and then it's Luke and Vlade, and then it's Luke and Monty, and then it's Monty and Alvin, and then now it's Alvin. I mean, it's Monty and Mike, and he just rattled it off so quickly. He's like, just like the overall instability. He's like, we've always had talent here. Every year I've been here, I thought we had enough talent to make the playoffs to get it done. He's like, but just all of these, every time we went to take a step forward, we took 2 steps back. And every time we got to an off season, halfway through the season, he's like, there were massive changes every halfway point of the season. So you start at the beginning of the season, you got a new coach or a new GM. You get to the midway point, you make a big trade. He's like, every single time there was no way to like get any sort of structure because we never had like a straight line moving forward. It was always these jagged lines and stepping back. And so like, he's appreciative of where they're at now and surprised that stability came in 1 year. Like, I think that's another thing for him, is just like if you can call it stability, is what he said. Like, how do we find stability in 1 year when we couldn't find it all those other years? Clearly we did. And so I think for him, this is like a really, really cool moment where he'll assess what he wants to do going forward. And he should probably realize that he's part of what stability is this season, and that by taking away him, he would damage the stability. And so maybe this isn't a team that like makes a ton of playoff appearances in a row. Maybe it is. You never know. But he certainly is a big part of what makes this place a stable place, a stable squad.
Do you think if he resigns here, the trade, because his name is brought up every year because of what he can add to virtually every contending team or near contending team in the playoffs, if he resigns, which clearly shows his desire to be here, do you think those conversations in February die for a couple of years?
Yeah, probably, because
Until he gets close to his contract expiring and then they bring it up again?
well, no, because I'll point the Kings are the 3rd seed in the Western Conference. Like, you talk about all the teams that want him are the really good playoff teams. Well, if the Kings are in the same position next year, then they're a really good playoff team. And so why would you be trading him? It would be more like a team going and finding, like, if you were going to move him, it would be to get just way younger at the position, or if things spun out or things weren't working out, all of that. So, and I'll be honest, like, I think the Bogdanovich extension like was really weird.
Yep.
And very oddly timed and all of that. I think it also makes it more difficult for teams like the Kings and, for players around Harrison Barnes' value around the league that guy just got that much money, because like that's a stretch. It's a stretch for any 31, 32-year-old like Bogdanovic, but like Harrison's 30, and Harrison's been a better player his entire career than Bogdanovic. Like Bogey's a really good player, and he's had moments where he's been really solid, but Harrison's a better player. And on top of that, he's played in 79 consecutive games. Like he plays every game. Bogdanovic doesn't. So does that kind of skew the market for Harrison? Maybe it does. Maybe it makes him slightly out of reach for the Kings, but I don't know. Like he would be a huge loss.
Such a Hawks move.
It is such a Hawks move, isn't it? Just like, what are you doing?
There's no rhyme or reason to it.
Any of it.
Match salary and use that to trade for Luka.
Yeah. I don't know.
It's chess.
Although, there's a hard cap now, so.
Oh, for goodness sakes! You know what the other thing was about Harrison is, if I don't know, I don't know if they're TikTok only videos or if they make their way around other social media platforms, but they show these videos often where they're asking quick questions to players as they're coming into the game, or coming into the arena. Excuse me. And one of the questions was, if you went out to dinner with your teammates, who picks up the bill? And almost all of them, not like almost every single one, said Harrison Barnes.
Yeah, I mean, like, look, I've one time I waited to start a podcast with it was Doug and De'Aaron and Corey. I mean, not Corey Joseph, Corey Brewer, and we were waiting for Harrison to show up. We were in Portland in like a conference room, and Harrison was out getting his nails done, like, and was late to the party. And it was such a Harrison Barnes reason to be late that we all kind of like chuckled about it. And it would, it's one of those things where like the dude is just like, he is so methodical. He takes care of himself. He teaches everyone else how to take care of their body. He's the rock behind the scenes. He runs chapel. Like he gets everyone organized for chapel every day. Like this is a dude that you really, really want around your franchise. And he's meant so much more, especially during the lean years. Like maybe he hasn't meant as much this season to some of these guys, but he still does. He's still on the leadership council. He's still the guy that Sabonis, who just got here, says is the most professional player he's ever been around. So, there are things that, like when dark times have hit, it was always Harrison Barnes that you stuck out in front of the microphone to like deal with the media to say sorry, basically.
Every time.
Yeah, he's been their vet.
Harrison was pissed off a couple of times. Like, I got to go do this again.
Oh yeah.
He doesn't want to talk to us any day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If ESPN 1320 went out to dinner, who's picking up the check?
I don't know.
Charlie?
Yeah.
I'm good for at least one of those. I don't know.
It depends on where we going.
That's funny.
We're going to SR Prime. Of course, we're going to SR Prime.
I can't go back there for a couple months.
Kenny avoiding that check. Like, Kenny go up and go to the bathroom when he know it's getting somewhat close.
I forgot my wallet.
He headed off.
Wait, what? Oh, there's a call coming. Hey, yeah.
Hey, yo.
That's funny.
What's the king?
It's James. James is the one. He's got a whole estate. James.
So do you.
I do not have an estate.
I don't have a Tesla. I ain't got that Tesla money.
Got a lake.
You got armed security outside your home.
Yeah.
Hey, driving up to James's house, once you get through, it's like driving to Rick Ross's house. Once you get through the gate, you get through the armed security, they do a background check.
Yeah.
They search your car, the bomb sniffing dogs, all of that stuff. Then you drive just all up this massive hill up till Hammer Spot.
Damn, must be nice.
It was a fun time.
I try.
Before, man, that was even before I got to see the famous bar that Ham broadcast from. Hey, James did bring up a great. I'm really anxious to see what Mike does with this group tonight. You talked about the chase for 50. Like, we might get a. Here's a quick question on our way out. How different is this game versus Friday's game? Because Friday's the game I'm really struggling with how Mike is going to approach that.
I think Mike goes for the win every time. And they're still looking at Memphis and thinking,
well, it's there. Yeah.
it's there. Memphis sitting everybody tonight. Yeah, everybody. They're sitting
So is
everybody.
Cleveland. Did you see Cleveland's injury report? I have no idea who's wearing a Cavaliers jersey tonight. There's like 9 guys on the injury report.
That's like Utah. You're like, oh no. Like some of these teams, you gotta like I just screenshot how many and post the whole thing. I don't have enough characters to like fill in the injury report.
It's like, man, who do they have available? Are they calling up their whole G League squad to get it in tonight? Make sure you subscribe to the Kings Beat podcast. More importantly, make sure you become a premium subscriber over at thekingsbeat.com.